All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me touching on the top prop bets today in NBA on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Also touching on some other sports like NHL, college basketball, and NFL. Let's go in and get into it. So first, I do want to start out with the bad beat. I mean, this is just painful, guys. Donovan Clingan, he got injured with like 13 minutes left in the game, did not return. He was well on his way to getting that over. For that to miss, that was very much painful, especially considering the fact that basically all the other prop bets were not sweats at all. You might see this one, like if you weren't following it, they blew out that team, and so he wasn't going to get that over. Kind of lucky there, but that is super frustrating to have that type of bad beat. It's one thing for a player to like miss out on a prop and whatnot, but for him to get injured, to not have a 10x on this, that was very brutal. But let's start with this video with showing you guys the best EV bets that we are currently getting as it sits right now. So we got a couple of decent NHL props. Owen is going to be favored as a push right here, about a 56% chance for that to be a push. The data really does like him to get over that, but all in all, not a bad prop. Mark Stone under assist, good EV bet. Michael Matherson under assist, good bet there. Get into some football ones. Russell Wilson over 26.5 pass attempts. That one has about a 54% chance to hit. Clark tackles and assists under. Jalen Johnson over 2.5 tackles and assists. Byron Young over tackles and assists at 3.5. We are getting some pretty good bets. An interesting one for tonight would be Jamal Williams under 5.5 rushing attempts. That one is seemingly going to be a good one. So right now, guys, we are getting some pretty good EV bets for a bunch of other sports, not in NBA. So that's going to be an interesting starting point. We'll see if we get some good college basketball props throughout this video as well. But let's go ahead and start out with all the best prop bets that we are getting right now in NBA. We're going to get into the game-by-game breakdown. All right, so starting with the first game, we got the Jazz versus the Pistons, a 1-point spread, 236 or so for the over and under. Now, looking at the injuries, this is kind of noteworthy. I mean, we definitely need to see what happens here. Keontae George, currently a game-time decision. If he were to sit, we'd be looking at Horton Tucker again. He was someone that I mentioned on their last game that he's someone that's really going to benefit with those players out. That ended up happening. I do still think Colin Sexton is going to be a player that we can trust in terms of production. Kind of had an off day, if you will, yesterday. 5 fouls. Maybe is playing a little bit more timidly, but really the assists just weren't there. Other than that, points were basically still there. 17 shot attempts still up. A little bit less free throws, but all in all, still had a very solid game. But yeah, Horton Tucker kind of operating the point guard a little bit more. No shock that his usage went up. No shock that his points went up and also his assists went up. That was expected. Very awesome to see. So he was someone we'll take a peek at if we're getting any good prop bets for him. And then let's take a peek at the Pistons. Killian Hayes, game time decision. We got to get news on that. We also need to get news on Isaiah Stewart. If he is someone that sits with Jalen Duren already out, that could mean that Bagley's going to get a lot of run, and also James Wiseman would get a lot of run in that game. So definitely fascinating. We need to see, one, if we're getting any good prop bets there, but also kind of which prop bets we'd want to be going in on. So yeah, let's take a peek at Keontae George. Right now, I would assume that he's going to sit. He did travel with the team though, okay, and he has been participating with on-court activities. So like it would make sense, you know, on the back end of a back-to-back, why they would have sat him on one of the games. And so if he plays tonight, it wouldn't be shocking. But at the same time, that's going to be the exact reason why we're not getting any prop bets for Utah. He is a big mover in terms of who we would expect to be productive in that for that team. Oh boy, I just refreshed this to see if we got any Utah props. We got LeBron James free square, so we're gonna have to apply that here. And while I'm there, let's just take a peek. What are currently the best EV bets for Underdog? Not too many, actually. Shock. I mean, really just Russell Wilson or Josh Allen. Those two, don't love that too much. But yeah, we're not getting any Utah props for either team. It makes, but again, if Keontae George is out, I think we're just looking at Horton Tucker to have that high usage rate to get a lot more assists and to get a lot more points. The biggest question mark I have is like, which one of the players is it going to be? Lauri Markkanen or is it going to be John Collins having a good game? They both actually could have a good game in this one. John Collins' minutes have been down though, and so we're probably just looking at Lauri Markkanen to continue to play well. And I think the reason why John Collins' minutes have been down is because Walker Kessler is going to continue to play about 30 minutes or so. So with that, it's tough to trust John Collins. So if we get some John Collins props, maybe his minutes are a little bit more limited than we would typically want. Looking at Detroit, let's see if we're getting any prop bets for them. And we are. We probably should be getting Kate Cunningham, Bogdanovich as we are. Looking at it right now, I personally don't really see a big edge with either of these two. Like they are kind of the heart and soul of this team, if you will, in terms of like this game is projected to stay close. So like Bogdanovich to get over his points, rebounds, and assists, I don't mind. But with him, it's like if we're betting his points, rebounds, and assists, we could just bet his over points because it's so close to his actual points, rebounds, and assists. So I don't mind this one. I think that's a good bet in a game that's projected to stay close. We know that the issue with Detroit has been games staying close. And so this would be one in which I think they have a good chance to play well. And looking at Cade Cunningham as well, like I don't mind the stacking opportunity there. Again, it almost feels like we'd want to chase the points a little bit more there with him rather than points, rebounds, and assists. I will say, if we get news that Duren's out as well as Isaiah Stewart, yes, we're expecting James Wiseman to get some more minutes, probably around 25, maybe to 30. Bagley as well will basically be capped at like 25 minutes. And so with that, Thompson here, I think would be a good candidate to get close to 30 minutes or so. And so if that occurs, I know that his role has been reduced with Bogdanovich being back, but I could see him having a bounce back game. And so I'd be very interested to see where they put his points at, because if we get news that Stewart sits and Duren sits, it should be closer to his average. And so if it's below that by a significant amount, I feel pretty comfortable betting that over. Let's move on into the next game. We got the Pels versus the Cavs. 2-point spread, 229 for the over and under. The Cavaliers are coming in off of a back-to-back, so we got to see kind of the news on that. We already know that Mobley's out. We already know that Darius Garland is out, but Donovan Mitchell is really the big mover there. Okay, as expected, Craig Porter had a really good game with Donovan Mitchell. That was something I touched on yesterday for you guys, as well as Jared Allen. No, we didn't get any Craig Porter props, but we did get some Allen props. Those kind of cashed pretty easily. And then I will say, guys, I've been testing out DraftKings Pick 6, and they had Max Strus at 15.5 points. I absolutely loaded up on that, and he ended up with 18, kind of a late cash there, but that was nice. And so again, kind of an annoying video to start the day because we don't have the news on whether or not Donovan Mitchell's going to play. And so obviously if he sits, I think we would just be looking at Craig Porter to play a lot of minutes and to be the one that kind of benefits the most with him out. Like he really had a great game. Now a lot of blocks. Actually, he didn't really shoot the basketball too well, but he's a solid fantasy producer just when those two players are off the court, when those two guards are off the court. So that wasn't shocking. A little bit shocking with Sam Merle kind of really having a great game. 16 shot attempts, 14 3-ball attempts. I mean, that was crazy. Obviously he was shooting the basketball pretty well to get up 14 shot attempts. You're not expecting that every single game. They might actually try to trap you into a bet with him tonight. I'm not saying that he's not going to have a good game, but I feel like that was kind of his ceiling game yesterday. So, oh no, again, Donovan Mitchell's out and they try to get us with some Merle props, probably not doing it. Strus is someone that really started the game out poorly yesterday, shooting the basketball, guys, really bad, and then got hot in the second half. I think he was like 1 for 6 to start the game. Second half was much better. He might have actually been like 0 for 5 and hit 2 free throws. No. Yeah, I don't know. He had a low point. He had 2 points going into the half, I believe. So he shot much better in the second half. But this is what we'd be expecting with Mitchell off the court. If Mitchell's on the court, probably not getting an edge there with him. But his points was set at 15.5 throughout the day yesterday, was then bumped to 17.5. You can see he got the over there. I feel like that was the correct call. Did have a lot of turnovers, so wasn't exactly playing the best. Caris LeVert, his minutes are going to be capped at 27, but his usage spikes up about 5% with Mitchell and Garland off the court. He had himself a good game, but he is a little bit too difficult to trust on a per-night basis. Very hit or miss. And then Allen, I do expect to have a good game again. Only played 30 minutes in that game. A little bit shocking there. Didn't get into foul trouble or anything. I think that was partially due to them having the lead at the end of the game. Utah kind of fouling them, or not wanting, Cavaliers not wanting Utah to foul Jared Allen. But all in all, with the matchup against the Pelicans, Jared Allen's going to need to get a lot of minutes because J-Val has simply been going off. And another annoying part here, guys, looking at the Pelicans injury report, we need to get news on their whole squad. Okay, so J-Val, questionable game time decision. Zion, questionable game time decision. Herbert Jones, questionable game time decision. Obviously, if those players sit, we're looking at CJ McCollum to have a great game. We are also looking at Brandon Ingram to have a good game. And so we take a peek at the projected starting lineup. It is truly a game time decision. It is truly a toss. And so it makes sense why we're not getting props for that squad just yet. And it's also kind of weird. I just want to point this out, guys. Like, if we get news that Donovan Mitchell's out, like you see this matchup rank, it's not going to be as difficult of a matchup. Just throwing that out there. Like, CJ McCollum's going to have a great game with him off the court. You look at his season average points at 20.4. If it's set at that and those players are ruled out, or even if Zion's just ruled out, I'd be fine betting the over, especially with his assists as well, guys. If that's at his average, I would also be fine betting the over there. He just gets a massive increase in usage, and that'd be expected in this game. And also Brandon Ingram as well. Shot attempts go up a little bit, probably would get closer to 20 shot attempts in this game. So again, if his points prop, really if all the props are at his averages, I'd be fine betting the over there if Zion's out. And also Herbert Jones being out would also be a big mover. That would basically mean that you're getting Murphy, Daniels to get some minutes. I wouldn't want to touch those guys too much though. Those secondary options, they're a little bit too more difficult to predict. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We got the Magic versus the Bucks. The Magic are coming in off of a back-to-back. The Bucks are not. We do see that Jalen Suggs currently a game-time decision. We do know that Markelle Fultz is out. And then Joe Ingles currently a game-time decision. This is another one of those things where I do think it's worthwhile to look at the injury report. if Ingles and Suggs sit, Cole Anthony is going to have a massive game, most likely, especially going against the Bucks. I do want to call it that Giannis is currently a game time decision, and because of that, we are only getting Giannis props. And the reason why is because if he plays, his lines are not going to change at all. If he sits, that drastically changes the whole Bucks squad's out. So let's start out with Giannis here. Take a peek at his injury or questionable. Quite clearly, if he sits, Lillard gets a bump. Brook Lopez gets a massive bump. And so looking at the production with Giannis off the court, guys, minutes are kind of what you'd expect. But really, just looking at who benefits the most, Brook Lopez does get a massive bump in his production. Averages one more rebound per 36, and he is someone that, if a game stays close, he probably will get 36 minutes, averages about 4.1 more points per 36. He's just going to be around the rim a little bit more, averages about 3 more shot attempts per 36. Usage goes up 3%. Fantasy points goes up about 4 as well. So he's someone that definitely would benefit. Bobby Portis does as well, but he's a little bit more hit or miss. His usage rate is like 40% per 36 with Giannis off the court. But the issue is I don't think we can project him to get 30 minutes in this game. So really, to me, it's either going to be, it's going to be both. It's going to be Brook and it's going to be Dame benefiting the most. Dame has been someone that has been playing well. Now, he does get a more difficult matchup against, I guess, going against Orlando. Sure, Orlando has been good against guarding opposing point guards, but I don't think we'd be too worried about it. We got his per 36 production, and he is someone that we can probably bank on getting 36 minutes. Averages 34.3 points per 36 with Giannis off the court, 5.8 rebounds, 7.8 assists. Steals don't really change, but gets 23 shot attempts up, so a slight increase there. Gets a 12% bump in his usage rate, which is just massive. And so that tells me that honestly the lines probably won't adjust for that bump enough. And then looking at Chris Middleton as well, he also gets a 13% bump in usage rate. Okay, probably not going to get 36 minutes, probably going to be capped at around 33 or so, but his production gets about 6.9 more points per 36. Again, we're probably not expecting him to get 36 minutes, and averages almost an assist more. Rebounds stay the same. So really, it'd be a great stacking opportunity. Do I expect Giannis to sit? I don't know. But if we do get some props for the Bucks before that news comes out, as we could, I don't mind the idea of chasing upside, of chasing those prop lines changing when Giannis is ruled out and potentially gaining a big edge. Now, looking at Orlando, I don't really know why we're only getting Banchero props right now. We have all the injury news that we should need, except for obviously Ingles and Jalen Suggs. And don't get me wrong, that's important information, but that does not change like Wagner's outcome too much. It does change Cole Anthony for sure. And if we look at Cole Anthony, guys, if Markelle Fultz, Joe Ingles, and Jalen Suggs are off the court, Cole Anthony is going to have a good game, most likely. I mean, he cannot shoot the basketball poorly, don't get me wrong. Cole Anthony's per 36 production is 21.1 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. Now, you might be asking, well, will he get close to 36 minutes? He typically never does. I would say he would have a great chance to get 33 or so minutes if Fultz is out, if Ingles is out, and if Suggs is out. Like, we have seen that occasionally throughout the season. And that'd be a big piece of news. Obviously, someone like Gary Harris would get a little bit more run. Anthony Black is someone they've been kind of running out 20 minutes or so, but he's not that good. And then the player that gets a bump as well is Wagner. Gets about a 1% bump in usage. But, I mean, that's really about it. Maybe just, brings the ball up the court a little bit more. To me, that's probably just a little bit too thin. So yeah, for the props that we're getting for Orlando right now, to me, I don't think we really need to go in on either of these. Limited board. Let's go ahead and move on into the next game. Kind of sucks today. I'm kind of having to give you guys a lot of per 36 if then statements, which is fine. We can gain a big edge doing that, but I would like it to be a little bit more direct. Looking at the Pacers versus Grizz. So kind of tilting yesterday. Miles Turner was like 3 fantasy points off gaining his over. He crushed it in the first half. Seemed to be, a lock to hit as long as Charlotte kept it close. And I think it was the closing minutes of the first half. They gave up. It started to become a blowout, which is a little bit annoying. And then Charlotte never got it back. Looking at it, the Pacers are going to be pretty much good to go. High scoring game again, 2.5 point spread. So again, there should be a little bit of a stacking opportunity here. Close game. Looking at it, guys, Luke Kennard out, Marcus Smart game time decision. We need to get news on that. If Marcus Smart is still out with Derrick Rose being out, we're going to be looking at Ja Morant to have another good game. Now, it's funny. The coach came out and said that he was going to play 31 minutes or so in his first return back. And I was just like, who knows? Honestly, what happens? He played a little bit less minutes than he typically would, but he's still at 35 minutes in that game. So I think that's what we're expecting again in this game. What's funny, guys, is that he went 0 for 5 from 3 and still had 34 points. Now, he got a lot of free throws. We can see he got a lot of short shots in there, 24. So kind of crazy there, but obviously had himself a good game, and really he should have himself a good game tonight as well. What was interesting, okay, Marcus Smart doubtful as well. What was interesting is that Desmond Bane really took a drop in his production, but he still had 19 shot attempts up. So it kind of just seemed to be an off game for him. Again, if this game's going to be that high scoring, I would expect him to have a good game. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. had 3 blocks in that game, had a lot of points, had a pretty solid game as well. This is going to be a good matchup for him. And so for Memphis, those are going to be the 3 players I think that we really want to concentrate on. So let's go ahead and take a peek. Desmond Bane over turnovers, maybe potentially there. Desmond Bane over points. That's okay. 24.5. You can see one of the sportsbooks are kind of favoring 25 for the line, but they'd probably be favoring the over there. Let's see here. It's very thin, and I'm actually curious. Once we get some fantasy score props out, guys, that could actually be the way to attack this for Memphis, because all the lines that we're getting right now are probably correct. We take a peek at the points, rebounds, and assists. Like Desmond Bane, it's probably tough to get there with Ja back. It's probably more of a wait and see approach. We probably would rather want to bet on Ja to have a good game tonight against the Pacers. Like, he should be able to get the over points, rebounds, and assists. But again, that's probably a little bit too thin. Let me take a peek at Jaren Jackson Jr. Again, probably a little bit too thin here. So yeah, they're kind of tough to get to, the Grizz. So let's go and take a peek at the Pacers. Hopefully a little bit easier to predict. All right, so again, we're only getting Haliburton props. It's late enough in the morning that we should be getting more props than this. This is kind of weird. I guess football's back, so they're not as sharp. I don't know. It's weird. Looking at Haliburton, yeah, he only played 28 minutes in that game against Charlotte. That game was a blowout. Had a ton of assists. That's probably something I expect to continue again tonight against Memphis. Like, he's just been playing really well. And so 12 assists is a lot, don't get me wrong. But like, given the nature of this game that's projected to stay close, and that's the biggest thing with the Pacers. It's like, can they have it one game that stays close, right? It's been a while. But if it does, obviously he's going to be on the court a little bit more. If he's on the court a little bit more, it gives him a good chance to get the over. If he's playing 35 minutes in this game instead of 31, that's huge, right? And so I do think that he has a great chance to have a really good game. Like this number, points, rebounds, and assists at 40.5. I think I would almost be fine betting the over. Now, it is worth noting that 5 straight games of not getting the over is definitely concerning. But again, I think that's a little bit due to his minute. And if you just wanted to do assists, you could do assists. That's fine. All the props that we're getting from him are about 50-50. Then for what's worth, Miles Turner did play 25 minutes. Again, was really productive in those 25 minutes that he played. But everyone else is back for the Pacers. You got Isaiah Jackson back. He played about 15 minutes. Jalen Smith was back yesterday, only played 8 minutes, but he was someone that was playing about 15 to 25 minutes or so. And so with that, it's going to be tough to predict for the bigs. Like, obviously Turner's the number one there, but those backup minutes, it's going to be difficult to figure out. And maybe Turner's minutes are going to be capped more so now, at least in the regular season. So it might be more difficult to get there with Jalen Smith being active. Okay, so moving on to the next game, we got the Bulls versus Spurs, 5-point spread, 228.5 for the over and under. We do know that Wemby is going to be back tonight, so no free squares with Zach Collins and whatnot. He's a game time decision, but he's expected to play. Devin Vassell is currently questionable with an illness. Keldon Johnson currently questionable with a back injury. I don't know if we're going to get props for this game either. It's such an annoying slate. Looking at the Bulls, Levine's still out, Torrey Craig's still out. Caruso was back yesterday, so he's expected to play again tonight. Let's go ahead and start out with the Spurs, seeing if we are getting any. And we're actually getting a decent amount here. Let's take a peek at the injury report for them. Okay, so that's why. Keldon Johnson is expected to play. So is Wemby and Vassell. He's good to go. He's good to go. So with that, let's see if we're getting any good prop bets. Keldon Johnson under rebounds and assists, 10.5, 53% chance to hit. Let's see what that's like compared to his norm. We can see averages about 10.5 on the season. Only projected at 8.7 tonight. Not sure why. Points per minute, that's not changing. Really 32 projected minutes versus 33. DVP, that's probably why the projection's low. A little bit more difficult matchup. But yeah, all in all, it's probably the correct line. All in all, probably difficult to get to. But given the matchup, maybe you are favoring the under there. Vassell under threes made. Again, probably don't want to touch that. Keldon Johnson, 1.5 threes. I want to take a peek at that. And Jeremy Sochan, 9.5 points. Those are two that I want to just take a peek at. So Keldon Johnson, threes. Down last game, which was surprising against the Bucks. And maybe that's why. His usage went up, though. I mean, he got to the free throw line a bunch. And that's probably part of the reason as to why. If you're getting to the free throw line, no need to force up threes. Prior to that, though, guys, 4 threes. Attempted 8, 4, 9, 11. So he had been shooting a lot more 3 balls up until that point, and maybe it's just Wemby being out. Tough to say for sure, but I could talk myself into that if we're struggling to get props. And then Jeremy Sochan, I'm probably not doing this one, but I'm curious. 11 shot attempts, 7, 10, 9, 11. Yeah, probably just difficult to get to. 9.5 is probably just correct. So dang, we are kind of struggling to find really good prop bets for NBA right now. It's annoying. Let's take a peek at the Bulls. I do kind of expect Kobe White, who didn't have a bad game last game, but I do expect him to have kind of a bounce back game. So Kobe White last night still played 33 minutes. That game was a blowout. 7 for 18, still had the shot attempts, 3 for 6 from 3. I mean, he still had a great game. That game just blew out. And so he only got 33 minutes in that game. With this game surprisingly projected to stay close, I think we can bank on him getting closer to 39 minutes in this game. And so it could be one of those situations where him coming in off of a bad game, we could be getting some good lines for him. And the data's not saying that we are because, well, I don't think the data's caught up. Like, I don't think Prize Picks is caught up. I don't think the average sportsbook has caught up. 22.5 points. Again, if he's going to be getting 6 more minutes, I would be okay betting that over. Rebounds, you can see he's been crushing. Gets a good matchup against the Spurs. I should mention that. The one I probably want to go in on the most is going to be points, rebounds, and assists because he has been having more rebounds. He has been having more assists. He has been having more points. And so to me, I do think that there's an edge there. And again, going against the Spurs, that is going to be a good matchup. To me, that's one that I like. Again, we're hoping that he gets closer to the 39 to 40 minutes that he had been getting prior to last night, where the game ended up just being a blowout. That happened. And I think AD left that game. I think that was part of the reason as to why I know there was like a weird turnover that LeBron had where he did a no-look pass behind his back, bring the ball up, and Anthony Davis was hurt, shockingly, right? Weird play. Looking at Vooch, rebounds at 11.5 is kind of a good one that's popping up. You know, the Spurs are weird because they suck at defending bigs, but they're also not terrible. It's the weirdest thing. Again, if this game stays close, he gets a few more minutes. Him getting the over rebounds wouldn't be too crazy. Last game against the Spurs, 16 rebounds in that game, 36 minutes. I don't want to say that's what we're expecting, but like he should be able to have a good game against them. Like I do expect him to take advantage of an easy matchup because he typically is someone that can take advantage of an easy matchup. And then you got DeMar DeRozan. I'm actually curious, how did he do against the Spurs last time out? 39 minutes, 7 for 24. Not the best in terms of shots, but 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 20 points. Still had a good game. So you can see he clearly got the over points, rebounds, and assists. I'm seeing this as I think we have a little bit of a stacking opportunity here for this game with Chicago. Like easily could do Kobe White over points, rebounds, and assists. Again, I think that that's going to be a good option in this game. Could then run out DeMar DeRozan over points, rebounds, and assists. I will say assists would be fine as well, but really I think we're just looking at points, rebounds, and assists, kind of just game stacking this game, hoping this game stays close. And then you could do Vooch over points, rebounds, and assists. That one probably seems the most safe in terms of getting close to his line, but 11.5 rebounds, that the data kind of likes that the best. But again, guys, we're not getting any great EV bets just yet. Kind of a frustrating slate. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. I will refresh the data at the end of this video to see if we're getting any better prop bets. I guess we got 2 more. Clippers versus the Thunder, 236 for the over and under. We actually had 3 more games. My bad. Sorry. Probably need to pick up the pace. All right. So Clippers versus Thunder, 236, 4.5 point spread. Clippers, we got to see news on Paul George. If he sits, that's going to obviously mean that Kawhi Leonard, James Harden are going to have good games again like they had last game. I would imagine that we're not going to get any good prop bets for the Clippers just yet. We're not because of that, so it makes sense. Let's move on into OKC there, seeing which lines we are getting. Josh Giddey. Yeah, Josh Giddey is definitely interesting. Points at 10.5, rebounds at 5.5. Josh Giddey lately has actually been playing better, and sure, it's a more difficult matchup, and sure, the minutes are still not there, but he has been playing better. I don't know what to do with that, guys. Like projected minutes, if he gets 28 minutes, then yeah, we can see all the data based off of those minutes. Getting about 2 more minutes, would like the over there. So it is, I guess we could bet that. I guess I'd be fine with that. All in all, probably feels still too thin. Chet Holmgren, over points, rebounds. We're getting a slight edge there compared to underdog. The average sportsbook line, and it's actually interesting. Average sportsbook line would have us at 24.7. Underdog has that 25.5 for some reason. I would say Prize Picks is probably correct, but at the same time, I could see betting the over there. From there, probably a little bit too thin. So let's move on into the next game. We got the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. 6.4 is going to be the spread. 224.5 is the over and under. I think Anthony Davis did come back. Let's just take a peek. Yeah, he was fine. So he still played 38 minutes. Interesting there. So looking at the Lakers, I don't know why we're not getting any props for them just yet. I guess it makes sense. They're probably expecting someone potentially to set on a back-to-back. Maybe it is Anthony Davis. Maybe it is LeBron. You know, when they're playing, they're getting heavy minutes. And so I guess I could see why. Minnesota just got feasted by Embiid. And so potentially maybe we're looking at Anthony Davis to actually have a good game. Minnesota, we're going to get some props. Let's just take a peek there. Seeing if we're getting any good prop bets just yet. Not really too many. Again, probably a little bit too thin. Karl Anthony Towns did hit the There's a couple of props that I kind of like for him yesterday. I think it was points and rebounds was the best one. That one ended up hitting pretty easily. Today, gosh, it's such a tight board today. It's shocking. I don't really like any of those. Let's go ahead and move on to the last game on the slate, which is going to be the Wizards versus the Trailblazers. Honestly, could be the best game on today. Really close game, 4-point spread or so, 240 for the over and under. So high scoring game, close scoring game. Two teams that my strategy with them has literally been, all right, when the games are with these teams, if we can get the games to stay close, their lines are always a little bit too undervalued or overvalued for that matter when games blow out. So there's been an edge there. And so tonight, I'm probably going to spend too many units on this game than I should. Let's go ahead and start out with Washington. And Tyus Jones is probably the first player that I want to look at, but also Daniel Gafford, Denny as well. Let's just take a peek at all these, really. Jordan Poole, maybe. Kyle Kuzma, maybe. But again, when games are staying close, we're seeing players like Tyus Jones get some more run. The issue is games typically never stay close. You look at this game against Phoenix, don't get me wrong, he was playing well, but he got a lot of minutes in that game. Another close game against Philly, 31 minutes in that game. Played well in that game. Let's see. The issue is we never get any close games. Charlotte, 35 minutes. That was a close game. Milwaukee, 31 minutes. And so when games stay close, he is a player that I think we can be looking at. And guys, the data is not going to like any of these. Like it's annoying. Let's just take a peek at Tyus Jones in general. Points, rebounds, I'd probably be fine with, honestly. Points, rebounds, and assists, I'd be fine with. Really, all these, I think I'm kind of fine with betting the overs, assuming that the game stays close. Like to me, assist is probably the best one. As long as it is getting close to 30 minutes, I think I do like that one the best. But really, let's see where points and assists is at. 19.5. I'd be fine betting that over as well. But yeah, assists is probably my favorite one at 6.5. Let's take a peek at Daniel Gafford. Again, if the game stays close, Gafford is someone that should be getting close to 30 minutes in this game. Maybe even more than that. Again, against Phoenix, really crushed it. Look at some of those other games that stay close. Milwaukee, Charlotte, around 30 minutes in that game. So again, when the game stays close, he's someone that benefits. Points, rebounds, and assists, I'd be fine with betting the over. Those two, Tyus Jones, Daniel Gafford, I'm most likely going to be looking at fantasy score when that's made available. But at this line, I'm perfectly fine betting the over there. We're not too worried about DeAndre Ayton defense. And then Denny as well. Denny and also Kyle Kuzma are the two players for Washington that's kind of been a very consistent source of production on a night in night basis. Now Denny a little bit more hit or miss, but all in all the minutes are typically there for him. He's someone that you could toss in at the end of a game stack. Kyle Kuzma is someone that I do expect to have a good game, but his minutes have been down a little bit recently. So actually, let's take a peek at Kyle Kuzma. What's his points, rebounds, and assists at? 35.5. I could see betting the over there in this game against Portland. Like, we're not too worried about the defense. I think we could. So now I hope we are getting some props for Portland. Sharp is out. That's the biggest piece of injury news that we have. With him being out, I don't think that changes much. I just think we're looking at Simons to continue to have a good game. I'm not too worried about the Washington defense, and Simons is someone that has been getting heavy minutes when games stay close. 35.5 is where his points, rebounds, and assist prop is at. And if we can expect him to get like 39 minutes in this game, like he typically has been, to me, this is a low line. To me, this is something that we would want to target. At the same time, I could see why some people maybe don't want to use it. I'm very curious to where his fantasy score prop line is going to be because not too many turnovers for him, and he has been getting about a steal per game. We can see points at 26. That's very high. That's elevated for the game that we have. Like, I don't mind that, but all in all, maybe a little bit too thin. Points, rebounds, and assists I'd be fine with. But again, I'm probably looking at doing fantasy score for him as well when that comes out. Jeremy Grant, points and assists, 51%. Let's take a peek at that. He gets a very good matchup. If he's going to be shooting around 20 shot attempts, I probably like that the best. 26.5 means he basically been there, hoping the game stays close. I think I'm fine betting that over. Again, I think we have a good stacking opportunity here. I personally think that the Washington players are a little bit undervalued in comparison, but all in all, not bad. All right, guys. So just looking at NFL right now, mostly kind of want to look at today, but I do just want to remind people that with this prize pick sheet, we do have the bet type listed in there. And so right now we're getting a goblin for Deontay Johnson that's massively undervalued compared to what he's supposed to do. And so if there's a free square or prop bet that you really like, that you want to really increase your likelihood of cashing with that, you could toss that one in there. The payout's not going to be good. I just want to point that out, but that's kind of the only way I would recommend using a goblin. Let's take a peek at just the standard ones that we have. So interesting here, we're getting some decent fantasy score props and then some other props. So like Taysom Hill over fantasy score 4. I mean, that's not too crazy, right? That's him scoring a rushing touchdown. That's him maybe catching a couple of passes. Like, he is someone that is involved in the offense. I don't mind that. Tyler Higbee over 5.5. That's also not terrible. He plays a lot of snaps. Yeah, I honestly, I get it. I get why that's fair in the over. And then we're also seeing here, we got a couple of tackles and assist prop. Jamal Williams again, under his rush attempts. That's a decent one there. So yeah, we got a couple of decent ones for tonight's game. Let's take a peek at college basketball for tonight. So college basketball, we have Around 3 really good ones for the under bets. Again, this is kind of crazy. I was hoping we get a couple of over fantasy score bets. To me, those are more fun. Let's just take a peek at those. So Tyson, we can see he's been over this 5 straight games. Maybe it's because it's a little bit of a lower scoring game. That could be that they're favoring the under. I'm guessing that's why, looking at the game log and whatnot. I don't know if I exactly like that one. That could be one where I could easily get talked off of. Now, it's not like he's been crushing the overs too much. I mean, it's been right there. So I guess I could see potentially maybe why the day likes it. We got 2 other ones in that same game here. Probably a little bit closer. Again, if this is going to be a more difficult matchup, I guess that could correlate if you want to run those out. And then the last one is Arthur under fantasy score. He's someone in the last game had a terrible game. And you guys know by now, I don't really like touching players coming in off of a bad game. Kind of a decent over and under as well. Yeah, I don't know. Those all seem to be a little bit too thin. And the timing of it, guys, literally as I was trying to finish the video, they came out with some fantasy score props. So Kyle Kuzma over fantasy score, that's seemingly going to be a good one. I'm fine with that. Jordan Poole's fascinating that they're liking the over there, that the data is. Denny's okay. What I don't like is that they don't like Simons for over. I guess I'd be okay with that. Daniel Gafford's definitely pushed up, as is Tyus Jones. Like, those are much higher than I would have thought they would be. But at the same time, like when we go through it, I guess I'd be okay with Simons over fantasy score. Again, just betting on the game, staying close. Kyle Kuzma, getting a couple more minutes, I'd be fine betting the over there. Grant, we probably don't need to do. Jordan Poole's interesting. I don't really know what to do with that. All in all, the data likes the over. We can default to that. Tyus Jones over fantasy score, I'm okay betting the over there. Kamara is definitely interesting. I think we're okay betting the over there as well. His minutes should be locked in regardless. And then Gafford, yeah, if the minutes are going to be there, I'm fine betting the over fantasy score, even if the data doesn't exactly like that. And then, I think we do have a stacking opportunity. The next best one is going to be Aiden for over 12.5 rebound. Let me just take a peek at underdog for you guys. Probably a little bit too thin here. Vassell for over 6.5 rebounds and assists is really the best one. These ones are all being favored as pushes. We don't need to touch those. Interesting there. And then I'll take a peek at college basketball and underdog. Then I'll give you guys the bet of the day, then getting out of here. Yeah, nothing too much for underdog. So let's give you guys some bets for today. All right, so let's start out with some other sports other than NBA. I'm fine using this one. This was one of the better ones that we saw on the day. And then Taysom Hill over fantasy score, Tyler Higbee over fantasy score. The data likes those two. I'm perfectly fine using those. Personally, I don't really like these, but I wanted to make this a 6-slip bet. The data does like it. And all in all, more times than not, I kick myself for not trusting the data than I do the opposite. We'll see what happens tonight for those. Now, yesterday I ran out a stack of the Pacers versus Charlotte game. Did not work out. I was hoping on that game staying close. It did not. All in all, I don't think it was a mistake. That was part of the risk. So this game is supposed to stay a little bit closer, obviously, and it's higher scoring. I like these prop bets a decent amount. Again, I'm going to toss in the Aiden one. Actually, I'll just show you guys that. Toss in this prop bet to make it a 6-slip bet. Okay, so that's where I'm going to be the most comfortable. That is going to be all for today's video. Make sure to give it a like and subscribe, guys. I do appreciate that. If you guys want access to the 95sports.com PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheet, is available for just $10 a month. Let's have a good slate today. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.